Hello, my name is Steve Cahill. I'm a professor of biology here at West Kentucky Community and Technical College, and this is a series of videos on how to manage stress during the COVID-19 pandemic. This particular video is on how we can improve sleep. So the relationship between sleep and stress is a positive feedback loop. And we've talked about positive feedback loops in the past and will again in other videos. So let's take a look at this particular one. Stress and anxiety are negatively affecting sleep, which will result in poor sleep, which affects mood, which comes right back to the beginning. And we start the process over again. So this can heighten and exacerbate stress and anxiety, and is caused by anxiety. Sleep is necessary for all aspects of health. Sleep has been associated with immunosuppression. It's been associated with things like metabolic disorders like diabetes, brain and cognitive decline, and all other aspects of health. So how much sleep does an adult need? And this ranges quite a bit, and everybody's unique. The average is between 7 and 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep, so sleeping all at once. However, there are some cultures that sleep for 6 hours at night, but then we'll take a nap of 1 to 2 hours. And some people suggest that this may be a more natural pattern of sleep for people. This is called the Stanford Sleepiness Scale, and this is a way to determine if you're getting enough sleep. So you simply look through these answers, these degrees of sleepiness here, and stop when you find the one that best matches your current situation. So at first we have feeling active, vital, alert, wide awake. Right? We take on the world here, and your rating is 1. If you feel that you're functioning at a high level, but you're not at your peak, you're still able to concentrate and focus and do the things that you need to do, you're at level 2. Here's the cutoff. Are you awake but relaxed, responsive but not fully alert? This is a score of 3. And anything below this means that you need to have some kind of intervention on your sleep, that you may need to improve the way that you sleep, how much you sleep. Our sleep changes throughout the night, and this can be monitored by EEG, electroencephalograph, where we look at the brain's waves throughout the night. And we have these different stages. The 2 main stages of sleep are REM sleep and non-REM sleep. REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep, and this is where we start to dream. This is where memories are formed, where learning takes place. So REM sleep is important for learning new things. It also affects our mood and emotions. So lack of REM sleep can cause negative moods, negative emotions. It's also involved in creativity. So this is where we dream, this is where we put together new ideas. Non-REM sleep has stages that are called deep sleep, and this is the restorative kind of sleep that helps us feel good the next day, but it's also essential to memory. We have heard of circadian rhythms, a sleep-wake cycle. And parts of our brain are able to keep time. The hypothalamus is able to keep time for us, a region in our brain. We have sleep-wake homeostasis. We have patterns that help us to sleep at the same time. And I think we've all experienced this when you're able to wake up right before the alarm goes off. Because you anticipate when you need to wake up, because you have a pattern, and you start to feel sleepy at roughly the same time each night. This is part of these circadian rhythms. In other animals, it lets them know what time of year it is. It lets them know when it's mating season, or at least in part. So this is just a pattern, a timekeeper, right? But how do we know when the day starts and when the day ends? So this has to do with the amount of light that's hitting our eyes, how much light we see. Light is said to entrain this sleep-wake cycle. So what does that really mean? So when we wake up in the morning and bright light hits the retina of our eyes, our circadian rhythm is set at start, the beginning. This is the start of the day. And then as it gets dark, this sets our circadian rhythm to night. It's nighttime. This is the end of our day. It's time to start sleeping. So light is what entrains this sleep-wake cycle. So we don't want to interrupt our sleep-wake cycle. We don't want to interrupt our circadian rhythm by introducing artificial light. Here's a list of things to do for having better sleep. It's good to exercise 30 minutes a day, every day, especially when you do it earlier in the day. So you don't want to exercise too close to bedtime because it creates kind of something very similar to a fight or flight response by increasing stress hormones, and that can help to keep you awake and alert. So you would like to exercise earlier in the day. It's better than later. Set a regular sleeping and waking pattern. So we want to set our circadian rhythm. We want to set when we go to sleep and when we wake up. And this is important to do 7 days a week. So it can be difficult to go to sleep at the same time, especially on the weekends, and then to wake up at that same time, even on Saturday and Sunday. But if you really do want to have the best sleep, if you really want to improve your sleep, then it is important to do this most days, if not every day. Make sure that your environment is dark. I think that goes without saying. Remember, it's the light that resets that sleep-wake cycle. So we don't want to have any sudden light in our eyes. Quiet is of course better, and then surprisingly cold is more often preferred by people. A cold room, you can typically sleep better. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you may be tempted to look at the clock, but this can cause anxiety, and I know this happens to me when I wake up. I take a look at the clock and then I think, well, just how many hours do I have left before I have to wake up? And this can prevent me from sleeping. Just the stress of knowing how much or how little time you have to sleep can cause stress that prevents you from going back to sleep. So you may want to just turn the clock around. Okay, let's take a look at some factors that negatively affect sleep. We'll start with caffeine. Caffeine gives us another one of those positive feedback loops. So if I were to drink coffee, it has a half-life of 6 hours, right? So what that means is it effectively is reduced in half every 6 hours. So if you were to drink 1 cup of coffee at noon, then at 6 o'clock, at night, you would essentially have the effects of 1.5 cup of coffee. It would be the same as if you drank half a cup of coffee at 6 o'clock at night. At midnight, you're going to have 1/4 cup of coffee circulating through your system, right? So it depends on how much coffee you normally drink. If 1 cup of coffee is enough to give you a lot of stimulus, then what would half a cup be like right before bedtime? What would 1/4 cup be like as you're trying to sleep? So caffeine is going to prevent you from falling asleep, but it's also going to interrupt your sleep as well. Your deep sleep is going to be affected by caffeine, and that's the restorative sleep that helps you to feel better. So if you're going to drink coffee, you're going to need to stop drinking coffee in the afternoon. Find a time during the day during the morning where you stop drinking coffee altogether, and that way you don't have as much in your system when you go to bed. If you can, stop drinking coffee altogether. How's this a positive feedback loop? Well, if I use coffee to make myself alert and then it prevents me from sleeping, next morning I can end up drinking more coffee. So the next day I'll need to have 2 cups of coffee, and by the time I get to 6 o'clock at night, I'm going to have 1 cup of coffee, the effect of 1 cup of coffee within my body, and then 1/2 cup circulating in my blood at about midnight. So you can see this is a positive feedback loop, and it builds upon itself. So if you can, stop caffeine altogether. The next one is alcohol, and this is kind of counterintuitive to many people. Alcohol is a sedative, and so you may think that it's a good idea to take this sedative to help you to relax, to help you to sleep. But this goes against the scientific evidence. Alcohol is going to suppress your deep sleep and your REM sleep, and it can interrupt your sleep throughout the night and cause you to wake up. You may not even remember waking up. Alcohol affects the quality of your sleep. So alcohol being a sedative is not a substitute for sleep. So if you can, cut out alcohol altogether to help you to sleep. Screen time. This is looking at your iPhone, this is looking at your iPad, this is looking at the television set. In fact, any type of bright light can reset your circadian rhythm. Don't sit in bed looking at your phone. This has bad effects on your sleep cycle. Don't stay in bed if you can't sleep. We associate our bed with sleep when we have healthy sleep. We can associate our bed with other things if that's what we're doing in bed. And if you're sitting in bed, tossing and turning, ruminating in bed, you will learn to associate this as a place of stress and non-sleep. So if you are tossing and turning, get out of your bed. Go find a chair, sit and read until you are sleepy, and then return back to bed. These are some of the sources that I used for this presentation. The National Institutes of Health provides lots of information about sleep and how our body works. The Stanford Sleep Scale is described in this scientific publication. The Division of Sleep Medicine at Harvard Medical School has lots of tips on better sleep. And I thank you.